Welcome to The Localist, a conversation with local makers and independent entrepreneurs. I'm your host, author of the Localist book and former small business owner, Carrie Rollwagen. Our guest today is Janet King. So Janet is founder of The Gathering Lab. The Gathering Lab was created because Janet started noticing all of the difficulties in building community, both in her personal life and in her work life, that honestly I think so many of us feel. We know that building relationships and building communities would be better for us as people, would be better for our society, but it's hard to create those things. The ways that we used to build friendships don't seem to work anymore. And what Janet says on this podcast is that's not just us. That's something that is kind of going on in society as a whole, and we need new ways to form those connections, new ways to connect with each other. She's done so much study and so much research into the science behind connection, and she's really put it into practice. Now the Gathering Lab consists of a corporate offering and also an offering for individuals that's called circles. So if you're interested in joining a circle, you fill out a really short form about your preferences and your values. And she does emphasize that we really want to look at values and not just surface level interest or things like what we do for a living. So she takes that information and she matches you into a circle with people who share the same values. I'm going to let Janet dig into this more, but I just thought this conversation was so fascinating, both how the Gathering Lab operates as a business, and then also just what Janet has to say about what is happening to our relationships and basically how we can fix it. This episode was so interesting to me, and I think you'll really enjoy it too. I hope that you do. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So I wanted to start off with kind of the basics. What inspired the Gathering Lab? What need is this filling for you and then also for other people?
Yeah, so I feel like the Gathering Lab happened overnight and over the course of 10 years,
Yeah.
you know? I have always been, like, ever since I was little, I have loved people and deep conversations. I grew up watching Oprah every single day.
Yeah.
I'm a Scorpio, like, you can't miss me with a heart-to-heart. Like,
Yeah.
I am here for it. And that interest turned professional. I worked for a nonprofit consulting company for several years in community engagement. My main role was I traveled across the country. I worked with school leaders and superintendents to help build relationships with different stakeholders in their communities. So church leaders, business leaders, families. And this was all in the name of how can we better serve our students? And I loved this job. I loved what could happen when people who were different from each other got together and were inspired by something bigger than themselves. And what is that art of building trust with a group of people like that? And I loved it. But I also started to notice that my job was getting harder and harder to do. And I, no matter where I would go, whether it was rural Sanger, Texas, or Chicago, or, several places in Florida, it felt like, best case scenario, I'd be walking into a situation where our district leaders had little to no relationships with their community. And worst case scenario, things were so polarized and heightened that we couldn't even have a conversation about what our kindergartners should be learning. And this really started to ratchet up over the past several years, and it broke my heart.
Yeah.
It burnt me out. And it left me with this question of what is happening to our community at large, like to the state of community, what is happening? And at the same time, personally, I was going through a transformation. I had become a new mom. This company I was working for, I worked from home. So I would travel, but I worked here in Birmingham remotely. And I was just looking, I was in my 30s, and I was looking for that feeling of belonging. Like my people were here, and I had my girlfriends to go gab with, and the people who really got me and saw me. And I had a friend group like that in my 20s in D.C. from college, and there's just nothing more special than that feeling. And as I had kind of grown and evolved in my 30s, I was looking for the girlfriends who could be on the journey with me for who I am now. And it really hit home when I was, like I said, a new mom, busy working mom. And, my husband would be like, well, why don't you go take some time for yourself? Why don't you go, find something to do? And I kept feeling like I really wish I could go hang out with people who could fill my cup. And so that became an intention for me. And I thought, let me make this a priority and work the scene, get on the circuit. And so I did the thing. I did coffee chats. I went to happy hours. like I said, I didn't have a home base of like a workplace. I'm not part of a religious community or church. So I really felt like I was trying to build something from scratch. And, I was pretty excited for the first part. And then, it felt like it just would stay very surface level. And I would go to these social events, but found it very difficult to get past what do you do for a living and kind of what do you do this weekend. And it wasn't that the people there weren't amazing and cool and lovely and potential friends. It just felt like the conditions weren't right for something more meaningful to happen. And on top of that, I lived a busy life. These people lived a busy life. So to actually kind of sync up enough to build something felt really, really hard. And so this personal challenge and this professional world, these two things I was observing converged into this one big question of, what is happening to our local relationships?
Yeah.
And why is this getting harder and harder to do? And that launched this quest, really, I've been on for the past 2.5 years to deeply understand that and to build a solution to address it. The more I get into it, both the research and the application and watching the people we're serving and the struggles people are having, the more compelled and convinced I get that we absolutely need an antidote to this disconnection crisis we're facing that I think will only accelerate with the introduction of AI. And so something that can set us up for the next several decades to really socialize and human together in a changing world, that is what fires me up. So that's where we started.
Well, and I think so many people are feeling that. I mean, obviously the polarization, it is interesting because I think we all feel it in our lives and that you were also, that was your day-to-day job also. Because I think, and you kind of mentioned this, if you work in, like I work in an office primarily, you kind of have your little group and you kind of form relationships. So at least you have some connections there, which is also different because your work connections are not, you can have a personal element, but typically it leads to issues if like all my best friends work with me and then what happens when somebody leaves or whatever.
It's a both and.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not the same kind of relationship. And I think in the past you had churches, bowling leagues, supper clubs, these kinds of things, but it isn't as normal, I think, for everybody to be in one of those, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. And the research backs you up on that. I mean, a big reason why we're in the place that we're in is that a lot of the social infrastructure we used to have is no longer as relevant. And so there's a researcher and professor I love, Jeffrey Hall, who has this quote of like, we are no longer guaranteed the kind of day-to-day social interaction we need, and you now have to make a choice about it. And I can nerd out about all the reasons why we're in this place, because I think what I have realized and stumbled upon from working with so many people around this is that, yes, so many people are feeling it, and there's almost this invisible crisis where I think a lot of people feel like they're the only ones. Like, is it just me who seems to have a hard time like finding my people here? Or is it just me who hates going to these happy hours and getting asked the same question over and over again? Yeah. Or is it just me who like works all day on my computer remotely and then logs off and wishes I had something to do, but will just turn on Netflix instead? I think there's so many of us who are in this. And what I think have done a good job of, just through trial and error and iteration, is naming those invisible forces to say, here's what it takes to build strong community connection. If these are the variables, let's look at why they are breaking down. And we name all of those challenges. And so that people are now not only like a little bit more empowered to know what it takes, but say like, okay, it's not just me. And then, our solutions offer hopefully the ways that we can address those. But I think there's a lot of value just in even naming like, yes, there is something bigger at play here. Yeah. And so that typical friendship advice of just go put yourself out there. Yeah. Join a chess club and it'll happen. It's just not working anymore. Yeah. And then I think, for me, like this is not just about friendship, although that is a beautiful and valuable endeavor. It's about the social fabric of our communities. And the more we trust our neighbors, the more we trust the stranger at the coffee shop, the more of these micro interactions we have, that builds up to more macro trust and belief and hope. And so I believe as we are getting these like macro hits of all the reasons why we should be afraid of each other and not trust each other and are different from one another, we have to be building these micro hits of why we should trust one another and why there's lots of good, decent people right around us. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but
well, I feel like it's so interesting. It's so fascinating. I love that the micro and the macro trust. That's so cool. Yeah. Like one of the reasons that I really like small businesses and interacting with small businesses is because you get those micro interactions with your barista every day or whoever it is. Even I'll mention this later, but I think you mentioned that introverts really love the program. And I'm very introverted, and I did kind of a year where I tried to only buy from local stores, and it was really helpful in kind of just building that community to, you see these movies or you read books where it's like, oh, this little small town and people, but that is actually a lot easier to build those interactions than I thought. It was just kind of shifting to buying online to buying more things where I walk into a store and talk to somebody. And I think what you're doing is obviously different from that, but I do think about, because we buy mostly online, we're losing a connection there, because even when we go to these events, whether or not they're technically labeled networking events, they feel like networking events, which is a weird connection. Like, it's not, networking events are more like let me get something from you.
Transactional,
right. It's not let's connect and really get to know each other.
Just for the fun of it. It feels like there's an agenda to it.
And even those coffees and things, I think a lot of times are modeled after a networking event, instead of doing what you're doing and backing up and saying, what are we really trying to do here? So even if you go to a meetup that is not supposed to be transactional, I think it ends up being that way because it's modeled after the things that are. If that makes sense.
Yes.
And then obviously we're interacting on social media, which I don't think it's a big mystery that is probably not really good for making connections.
It's it's designed to make us feel different, and we are one-dimensional on social media. Discourse is in a like and a comment, and it's designed to get more people using it, right? So they kind of, the algorithm makes it divisive, and it is just not a good representation of how I think about the original social network, how we were really meant to be together. And basically it's the antithesis of how social media is designed. So yes, I love that challenge that you gave yourself to shop locally and even as an introvert, put yourself out there. What did you learn from that experience?
It was, a lot. It was funny. I went into it as really just a writing project. I've kind of become a small business, I've become a small business advocate, but I wasn't at the time. I really went into it because I'd worked at this small bookstore coffee shop and really loved it. But then I worked at Starbucks and I also loved it and had good connections. So I thought it was a writing project for a year. I did a blog about it. And so I thought this will be interesting because this is what's good about corporate and this is what's good about small business. And not that I didn't find anything good about, I'm not anti-corporation, but it just, the evidence seemed to start piling up that it's like, well, wait, I actually think these things are really important. And as an introvert, it was nice to be able to have those small moments so I wasn't having to walk into a room full of people and not know what to talk about. But really, after you've been to a local business, even like 3 times, usually they start to know who you are, just saying hi. And that was a lot easier to build an interaction for me when it's like, if I don't have it today, I can just order and not be rude and leave. And if I do and they have time, then we'll have a little conversation, if that makes sense.
Totally. We are we are wired to be a part of something. And the more evidence we get kind of day to day that we belong, we're a part of a community, the better it is for our health, our happiness, our mental health, our longevity. And so I just imagine you kind of living your day and getting those hits of like, I'm a part of something, I belong here, I know this person. Because that's how we're designed to live.
Yeah, I agree. So when you started digging into this, because you're seeing it in your job, you're seeing it in the world, you're living it, How did you deal with that? Obviously, this is a huge thing.
Yes.
And like, because on the local business side, I've been there a little bit where it's like suddenly you feel like the curtain's been like you're seeing behind the curtain and you're like, wait, this is huge. That this is, I want to impact everyone.
Yep.
But how do you take that, which is a lot of pressure and impossible to do that at once, like, and make it, I guess, first, how did you just not get defeated? Because I think a lot of people, we see something so big and we can't fix it. So we just say like, well, I can't do anything. But did you have that feeling, or was there a way that you dealt with that?
Great question and noticing. Because I look back, I'm like, oh, it's so cute.
Yeah.
Like, that is so cute that me, Janet, 2 years ago, was like, I will fix the whole world, you know, all the relationships. And I now, you know, have learned that specific and niche, you know, is kind of how you build something. But I honestly, the Gathering Lab came to me in an idea that felt safe enough to try. And it came to me in an idea of a dinner party. And using everything I had known from the art and science of how we build trust, can we create an intentional experience that feels different than our typical socializing experiences these days? And that felt safe enough to try.
Yeah.
Especially because I was like, I'm going to pick 12 of my friends who love me no matter what. And if this is horrible, I'll just say never mention it again. You know? But I will pick 12 friends who do not know each other, who are all, I intentionally, is a very diverse group across ages and backgrounds and experiences. My dad was one of them. And I called it the Gathering Lab. And I actually kind of acted as if this is like an official experience and you've been invited to the Gathering Lab. And they showed up at my house and I was so nervous. But like I said, it was just risky enough to go for, but safe enough to try. And they went through the Gathering Lab experience. Like I said, it was just based on the science of how we bond. And I think I took like a 12-hour nap after that. And I was like, whatever, that's done. Like I tried it. Whatever. And then the next day I started getting texts from my friends who were like, I can't stop thinking about what that was last night. And I've now told everyone at my office about it. And now they want to come to it. And I was like, oh no. I guess I'm on the hook to do another one. And so I did another one and I did it more. And we grew word of mouth. And by the time I made a little LinkedIn post about it, we had, I think, 150, 200 people apply to be on the wait list. These were happening at my house. I was like, it was not glamorous. You know, I was like washing dishes and vacuuming. And I had a husband and a 2-year-old. I had to leave the house every time. And so it was truly like a passion project. But it felt, I think, especially working kind of in consulting and at that top down level, it felt really refreshing to be working at the bottom up, like grassroots. Like, I know I made a difference in these people's lives tonight. And that feels expansive to me. Like, where can this go? And so that was like, I had blinders on, like, you know, just let's see where this dinner party goes kind of thing. And then the really cool thing that started to happen from there was, you know, these people had gone to this dinner with us and had this really amazing experience. Was like, you know, why am I walking away from this dinner with strangers feeling more connected than I do to my small group at church? Or why is it so much easier to socialize with this group of people than it is with my coworkers? And so all of a sudden we started to have companies reach out and churches reach out and colleges. And I was surprised by that because I kind of thought this was like a personal individual issue. But it made me realize like this really pervasive invisible force is in a lot of our spaces. And that, you know, I think as a small business owner, there's a lot of fear and doubt in the mix and like, what have I done? I think I have learned to just keep putting myself on the hook. And that clarity comes through action. And so whenever I get scared, I like think about how can I just keep myself on the hook? And so a lot of saying yes to these invitations from companies to try it out in their setting was keeping myself on the hook to like take action. Because yes, I chose a really big, complex problem with a lot of variables. And looking back, if I could give myself more advice, I would have said start much smaller, much more specific and niche. And we're doing that now, you know, I think. But I didn't know what I was doing when I named it the Gathering Lab. But now I see it really as it has been that. Like, it has been a way for me to study and build hypotheses around what are the real barriers getting in the way, and how can we test out solutions? And that's not to say I take so seriously our method and our approach, and it's not like an experiment.
Right.
But it really is a way to be very scientific about what is happening. And at the same time, I think as a business owner, discover what I love doing the most. What is the most compatible way for me to serve and use my gifts? Because I think I started off in a place where I thought I had to be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
And then if I wasn't, I'd somehow be failing. And now I'm learning, I really want to be something amazing to a small group of people who get it and believe it. And that is success too.
Yeah.
So I'm on that journey.
Yeah. Well, I keep having like several rabbit trails I want to go on, but kind of tell me about, you said like at the dinner you talked about you had specific things you did to kind of like that were based on how we bond as humans. Can you talk about what that was, what those things are or were at the time, and maybe how that's evolved? Yeah,
for sure. I love the OG model is what I call it. So kind of I don't know, that was a beta. Like the best working version of the original model was, I kind of set it up like this. If in the typical social world, I guess, we default to people we already know, or typically people who are like us on kind of some surface level way, or these identity markers, like that's how we make initial ties. At the Gathering Lab, you would build a profile, and I would match groups who maybe looked different across those factors, but shared a deeper affinity, and typically around shared values. So I'd match a group really intentionally. That's the first part. The second part is that our typical social experiences feel transactional, like we're trying to get something from each other. There's an agenda to it. And at the Gathering Lab, we started with a place of genuine connection. So actually one of our rules was you cannot talk about what you do for a living. And we had some structure throughout the evening to find different points of connection. But it really people struggled, and it flipped the script of like, oh wow, how much is that often the lens by which we get to know each other, and which can shut us off from all these other dimensions we have. And then we have a guided structure, typically I feel like especially in a new setting, but even with old friends in circles, it feels like we're having the same conversation over and over again. What'd you do this weekend? What trips have you gone on? Blah blah blah. And we have a really intentional guided structure that makes it easy to go from the lighter to the meaningful. And this is based on social penetration theory, that there's a pattern we follow in terms of self-disclosure when we build deeper relationships. So we follow that pattern in our conversations. And then finally, this was the struggle with the original model actually, but we need consistent interaction. And a lot of times we're getting together and it's one-off, or it takes months to get back together or whatever. And we, through our current model circles, create that consistent, repeated interaction so that you can build momentum with a group of people. And in the dinner form, what it actually looked like is you would show up and you would have a sticker dot on your name tag, and you would have to find your matching sticker colors and try to discover what interest you have in common. So you are trying to, the idea there is ask better small talk questions, more like what'd you do this weekend, more like if you had a day off, what would you be doing? Also a little fun competition, because I would quiz the groups and be like, you got it wrong, you know, and that's always fun.
Kind of like that celebrity game, but you're the celebrity.
Exactly. Right. Which at the Gathering Lab, that's my opinion. Everyone is the celebrity. We're all awesome. And then you would make a meal together, which part of how we bond is through activity or vulnerability. And vulnerability can be happening in conversations through vulnerability loops, more and more sharing of each other's weaknesses, if you will. But it can also happen in hey, do you know how to cook chicken? Because I don't know how to cook chicken, and I'm going to trust you to cook this chicken and not make me sick. And so all that negotiating has to happen when you're making a meal together. And it's, like I said, how we used to live and be with one another. So there's something primal that kicks in of being in a group, kind of tending to a meal together and making sure it all happens. And then we would break out into pairs. I would match people, and there would be a series of questions to ask your partner. You all would be matched on several values and interests. And that was based on 36 questions for how to fall in love with anyone. I'd pull some from there. And then at dinner, the whole group would come back together, and there would be sun and moon questions on the table. And sun questions are easy breezy conversation starters, and moon questions were a little more thought-provoking. And all of these questions were customized to this particular group. So you knew you would be picking up questions that this group would love to talk about. Yeah. So for example, if the group loved reading, one question might be like, what's a book you've loved lately, right? And how'd you discover it? And then oftentimes, a moon question might be, this group is matched on a top value of empathy. Who did you learn this from?
Yeah.
And there are no gotcha questions, and that is by design, because we want to start from this place of very positive, genuine connection.
Yeah.
And the hypothesis is, or the bet is, if we start from that place, we can build something a lot more quickly. But too often in the world, I think we're starting from our deficits or these kind of shallow ways that don't really mean much to who we are as humans.
Yeah.
And so it kind of is trying to flip that script.
Yeah. I think all of that is really fascinating. Did you come up with these, like the moon questions and the game and all of, like, were you finding these from other research you were doing and like, this is cool, I want to incorporate this? Or is there a guide to like how to throw a dinner party, or how did you come up with this?
All my own research. I mean, obviously influenced by amazing thinkers. John Levy has been a big influence. And David Brooks, a lot of the activists, Adrienne Marie Brown. I love her emergent strategy philosophy. And so there's all these influences have been baked into the approach, but the actual flow and design is all the Gathering Lab. And
that's cool, yeah.
And part of that has been my journey to like tease out our special sauce and put it all together and really claim that.
Yeah.
But it was really honestly uplifting and inspiring to see it work every time.
Yeah.
I mean, really obviously some groups do better than others, but to watch it work every time, even at we did some at University of Alabama with Gen Z, who everyone's likes to talk about as they're always on their phones and whatever. And I mean, for sure, they were a little bit more awkward. I'm not going to lie, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
But by the end of the night, they were in the same place that our 30-year-old, our adults were.
Yeah.
Which would tell me we are wired for this.
Yeah.
We have the capacity to do it. We're living in a time where we're not using that muscle.
Yeah.
And it's just not natural. It doesn't happen anymore by default. So that honestly fueled me too.
Yeah. Well, tell me how, so you were doing this all in your house.
Yep.
All centered around dinner, basically. How did you switch from that because you wanted things to be different? You wanted to continue those relationships, or because it's not scalable to continue to do these in your house, or was it all of the above, other things? How did you make the transition, and kind of tell us what it looks like now?
Yeah. I mean, all of it.
Yeah.
I never started the Gathering Lab dinner version as like the business idea. Does that make sense? I just started to start it. Yeah. And so there came a moment I was like, I cannot be hosting dinner parties every week at my own house.
Yeah.
I'm a mom, I couldn't. It was exhausting me. And at the same time, that we were getting more and more interesting invitations to try this method out, because people would be like, we want this to happen at our workplace, but we can't do it at a dinner party. Like, is there a way we can make this happen in a different way? So that really like helped me experiment and remove some assumptions around, well, they have to make a meal together for this to work.
Yeah.
And so all of that was about my willingness to take a risk.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's weird, I think, to have started off with something that worked so well.
Yeah.
And then have to kind of, I don't want to say strip it for parts, but tease out what is the thing that can be more sustainable. So we had a lot of, I think one of my favorite parts of my job too is who we attract, especially in terms of like clients, because I worked with a lot of lovely people who really understood what we were doing and the power of it, and were willing to try something new with us. And so that is kind of how we evolved it. I mean, we tried the method more or less in a lot of different settings, ranging from a coalition that was launching to building sessions at Alabama Power, to more socials in the community. And And so, you know, I think also in that time I was realizing people were coming to us like, we want to do the method, but we also want to hear you talk about why this is important.
Yeah.
So I realized people were coming to us for that perspective and the breaking down of the science, really, of like, what does it take to build a strong connection?
Yeah.
Why is it so hard right now? And so that became part of the offering too, especially in the corporate world. But my heart was in, and still is in, the like consumer, if you will, the individual. And so as we honestly were getting more and more success in the corporate world, but it felt important to me to maintain an offering, an exploration of how this could work for the individual.
Yeah.
And that's when I launched Circles. And that was an attempt, and is an attempt, and you know, a good one, to get a little more niche, because if we're ever going to tackle this in the community, that's really where I have to start niche.
Yeah.
I believe, and solve a very specific problem for a group of people.
Yeah.
And do it really well. So what I noticed about who was coming most to the Gathering Lab was a lot of women, a lot of women in their 30s and 40s, a lot of women who worked remotely and or were transplants here, had similar stories to me.
Yeah.
And who really cared about deeper, authentic friendships. And felt like that was missing or hard to find in the day-to-day. And that to me was like, wow, what would the power of bringing that group of people together and having them go through something like the Gathering Lab, like what could that be? What could that do? So Circles launched. We did our first one in February of this year, literally up until the day my son was born.
Yeah.
I was like in the hospital calling my facilitator, like, I'm having the baby right now.
Yeah.
Can you do the closing ceremony?
Yeah.
So that happened, and then we just wrapped up Summer Circles, which is our second cohort. And we're also doing the Circles model in a few different settings. This summer, I really wanted to try it out in a couple different ways, including at Alabama Power, like a large company, and at a local church. So very different context, but a similar idea of intentionally matched groups, people who are opting in to community building in their place, and intentionally matched groups, and this kind of guided multi-touch point experience. We've designed these hangouts that go from the Spark Hangout is your interest and what lights you up, to your shared values, to your purpose, to gifts, and then finally you are seen, which is my favorite hangout. So these, like I said, are kind of stacked intentionally. So that's what it looks like right now, and that helps solve that missing piece from the dinner, which was that consistent touch point. So yeah, I mean, and it's still a process. I mean, I think we are evolving always and learning what our kind of key offering is for who. I think my challenge of this has been focus, and not to say I'm like not focused and disciplined, but more like my heart is too big in terms of we have so many people coming to us to say, can we try it here, can we try it there? And for a while that was fun and it worked. And now I like feel the charge to really narrow in and decide where we're building. And so that is an ongoing journey.
Yeah. Has it been a challenge to get people to pay for this or to develop? Because I do think so often we think, like, as you've been explaining, and I think that we all feel this, like, friendships don't really organic. Like, it is very difficult. But it seems like a lot of people still feel like that should happen.
Yes.
And that it's like, well, I shouldn't have to pay.
Correct.
Has that been a hurdle? And, like, how have you dealt with that, I guess?
Yeah, very good question. It has and it hasn't. I mean, I'd say the biggest hurdle has been my own mindset around charging. I was thinking back to like my dinner prices were like $30, you know, which wouldn't even I was losing money on this.
Dinner,
And so part of it has been, I think, my own mindset around really knowing the value we are creating for people and what we are doing to solve a really hard problem. And like we are getting more and more evidence that people will pay for this solution. And, I'm still testing kind of that configuration of what is that price point and is it sustainable for us, and or what portfolio do we need. I also think a lot of companies are interested. I mean, one of the main reasons why talent leaves any place is because they don't find their people here. They don't feel that community. And so a lot of companies have been interested in what we're doing because they spend so much recruiting money. And then I think especially in a city like Birmingham that's pretty insular and hard to break into, it can be a difficult setup. And so I'm trying to stay creative about all the ways that this idea can be supported, whether that's through corporate sponsorship or individuals. But honestly, the price has been a selling point for a lot of our customers because if you have been struggling with this and frustrated with the way of the world, you're like, finally, I'm signing up for a group of people who have also paid and committed to this.
That makes sense.
And saving me so much time and money, because one of the things we keep hearing a lot too is like this investment mismatch. Even if you meet someone cool these days, it is so hard to know what someone's really available for. Who's actually available for putting in the time to build something new. And so there's value that we are creating by bringing those people together.
Well, I do think, because I see the value of it. I just don't know. But I also see the value in not outsourcing, but paying for other things in life when it's like I don't have the time or I can't do this myself. So I did wonder if there was pushback, but that makes total sense. And I also see it from a corporate side. I was watching a conversation with Simon Sinek and somebody else, and they were talking about, they actually started off talking about how like so often now we think in our romantic partner we're supposed to get everything, and that's actually like pretty bad for your romantic partnership, and it's better to have friends and have other people where it's like you're getting some people, things from other people. And they made that connection that they were saying it's kind of like that in work too, that we used to have all these groups that we're having these connection, and now we want all of it from work. So we're saying like my work has to align with my personal beliefs, my political beliefs, all of these things, which workplaces aren't really designed to be able to do to match every single person in the company. So I could also see that these connections are good because then it's almost like you're not expecting your company to provide all of this direction for your whole personal life.
100%.
Which I thought was really interesting. And even in a small business, I feel like sometimes we are trying to be like all things to all people, like we'll fulfill all your needs, which is just not possible or healthy with an organization who's literally paying you to do stuff. So I actually like really see why a corporation would say like, yes, this is good for our people.
And I think too, our understanding of health has evolved to highlight how much social fitness is a part of it. And if you think about companies investing in all these health and wellness benefits because of the longevity of their employees and mental health, I think we're at a time where we recognize that social fitness is a big part of that. And yet, I think about like we used to be naturally very active, right? We had to go find our food. We had to like do things physically to like make our lives happen. The Industrial Revolution comes along. We become a lot more sedentary during the day. And so, this whole fitness industry booms over the next 100 years where you actually pay and go to places to find physical activity because it's important to our health. I'm not saying like we need like a social health industry to boom from here, but I think we're at a similar moment, which is this thing that used to organically happen in our lives is the world's no longer designed for it to happen. And so how do we fill that need? Because it's really important to how we survive and thrive on so many levels.
Well, how does your team, or do you have a team? And if so, like, how did that evolve? Was it an easy choice, or was it difficult to say, like, just like it would be difficult to charge for things, which I do the same thing. I am really good at giving away way too much for free. But like, was that, do you have that team now? Was that easy to build, or was it a struggle and be like, I should put everything I have into this? Does that make sense?
I mean, I don't think it's a surprise that I love working with people. Like, I'm a collaborator by heart, and I love playing on a team. I love playing on an A+ team. And so I have been, I think, really eager to work with people on this. And there have been a few people who've come into the mix. And I at one point had a co-founder who I loved and had worked with for several years. She ended up having a health crisis and needing to step out. And so it has been a more solo journey than I would say I anticipated. But I look back at that. I have an awesome community host facilitator who's local here, and she helps me with circles and a lot of other events, and she's amazing. But besides that, it's just me. And I think that's okay right now because as you probably can hear, the vision is evolving. And I want to be I think it's only fair to bring people on when I can be truthful about what I can compensate them for, where we're going, the type of work we're taking on. Now, that's not to say there's not someone who's down for the ambiguous, let's just figure it out path, and maybe that person is coming. But it has felt clear to me that I have work to do to get clear about the vision I want for this company.
It's also easier to pivot, when you are still changing and iterating, when you're not trying to get these 4 or 5 other people on board and
it doesn't feel like a fair thing. It's easier to pivot, and that's been an important thing I've been needed to do. And I just had a baby, and I needed to step out and I'm getting my sea legs back on all that. So right now it's felt right to be the only person right now who's kind of charting the path. But I'm eager for the day when I just can see the badass team. I don't know if I can guess, but I know that they will be here with me one day. And it's okay that it's evolving right now. But I say I took maternity leave. I was only able to do that because I had an awesome person who knew our process on the back end and could help me out, and a facilitator. So there have certainly been people who have made this journey possible.
I think that's awesome. So can you walk us through, so if somebody wants to join a circle, wants to kind of say what is even going to happen, you go to the website, there's a kind of a quiz. Is that where it starts? Is that the first step? And then kind of say what actually happens.
So, what I really imagine circles to be is almost like a social life reboot. I really have this phrase that keeps coming to mind, like a social renaissance. And I think we are all we are post-COVID 3 or 4 years, picking our heads up and being like, what happened to my life? You know? And I'm bored all the time, or I'm frustrated or annoyed, and everything's sad. And what happened to my life? Where's the joy? Where's the parties? Where's the connection? And where do I even start? And I want us to be the trusted place to start. If you are feeling that way, and if you're really craving more depth and meaning in your social life and joy, frankly, I think that is a factor we are missing across the board in our life. So we have a lot of joy factor built into what we do. So that's what I imagine circles. If you're feeling that way of I just need a place to start, we are that trusted place. And if you go to our website, you will kind of see that what we do is, it's a commitment, both time and money. And so it is what we hear. I hear a lot from folks who are in that season, are coming to us. It's this feeling of I know I need to make relationships, community a priority. It's an intention of mine, and I don't really know how to do that right now. It just feels overwhelming. And so y'all made that an easy yes, right? I could say yes one time. I could commit to these 4 hangouts, and I knew by the end of it, a lot of the emotional labor of finding good friendships would be handled. And so you fill out the profile. We right now are doing kind of seasonal cohorts. So we will have a fall one and then a winter. And we will let you know if you've been matched into our fall cohort. And then when you're applying, you let us know, yes, I can commit to these 4 to 6 dates, or I can't. I need to go to another cohort. And that's really important because circles only works to the extent that people show up. I think we have forgotten that about community building. We want community, but we want to be able to flake out whenever we don't feel like going to something.
I joined the book club. Why do I have to go?
Right. And so it's very clear when you join us, this is I don't care about your money as much as I care about your time and how you show up. And so that is clear when you go through the process.
And the money is enough to commit, but it isn't it's not you're going to have to typically, it's not $5,000 or something. It's not. No. It's a reasonable.
It is reasonable, especially if it's I think we're all willing to pay for things that are a priority to us.
Yeah.
I'm willing to pay for a fancy gym membership because I like how my body feels, when I work out. And so it's equivalent to that.
Right, yeah.
And so if you're a place like, I want to make this a priority, you sign up with us, you get matched into our cohort. We have a fun kickoff event. We had it at Thank You Books last time. I really like this idea of connecting people to places locally. So I really try to think of what are natural community building spaces, local businesses that are aligned. And it was a great night, and people bought a lot of books, which I love. And so we have this magical kickoff night where you get to meet people in the cohort and you meet your circle. And like I said, everything is structured. I mean, not overkill, but we really appreciate that feeling, especially if you're an introvert, of like, oh, wow, I just signed up for something and now I have to go to this group of people and I'm going to walk in that door and what is going to happen? Right? We get how big of a risk you're taking with us. And so the whole process is baked to feel like a friend is walking you through it.
Right.
And when you show up, everything will be handled, I promise. And so we have this really magical evening and you meet with your circle and you get to know them. And then you have, we're still figuring out the kind of amount, but you have several hangouts after that with your circle. And from us, you get a structure for each hangout. Like I said, it follows kind of interest to values to purpose and gifts to this You Are Seen activity. And I'm working through how we balance that cohort experience and circle experience. So right now it's really focused on that circle experience, but I think it might evolve to be more of a cohort experience. And how we do perhaps different hangouts. Maybe it includes a local workout at a gym. There are so many great local businesses who are doing their own community building. Is there a way to sync up and kind of drive relationships? Because having talked to a lot of local business owners, those relationships are so important in this day and age. That is why people come into your store. Because they feel some sort of connection to what you're doing and who you are. Otherwise, it is just way too convenient to get everything online. And so if we can be a channel or a funnel for that, that really fires me up too. So like I said, you have this really intentionally matched group with people who are within 5 years your age and share your top values. And you go through this guided hangouts together over 4 to 6 weeks. And you can also opt in to get matched one-on-one with someone from the entire Circles community who we think you'd be a great fit for. And we set you up for a coffee chat. So the idea is by the end of 4 to 6 weeks, you said yes once. You've gotten 4 social things on your calendar. You have met 5 to 6 women who are your age, share your values, who are committed to building community. And you're a part of now the Circles community, which tonight we're having a Circles alumni reunion for all of our cohorts, which the exponential factor of that, just building, is really fun to think about. And my job is fun because I'm at, a local coffee shop and I have some circles come up to me and say, hey, I'm going to so-and-so's baby shower next week. She's having a baby and our circle's going to support her. Or I got a new job from someone in Circles. And it's just this manifestation of everything I believe about the power of relationships. It is so fun to see that happening in our community. And be an engine for that.
Well, I think that's awesome. So if people are connecting, so that's the option for people to join. Or if they apply for a circle, is there a pretty good chance they'll get one, or is it it's a very small group and you apply again next season?
It's about right now the sweet spot has been about 25 women, and it's also we are trying to make some cohort compatibility. So that's part of it. It's not like you're not qualified. But that clip might change. Right now it's happening seasonally, but I am exploring other ways to. There's wonderings I have about if it has to be. If there are other touch points we can offer. Or ways to kind of work with us that don't have to be that. You don't have to wait to the next season's cohort. So I'm hoping those are on the horizon.
I think that's awesome. And so if people are wanting to connect with these ideas, because I think you have so much to share and obviously have done so much research, and I felt like you did volunteer some of the people that you read and that you've researched, but I have a feeling that you could have gone the whole podcast on that. So do you have, I think we talked about before we started, you have maybe a podcast planned where you will share more of that. So
here are a couple of ways you can get involved with us. So I am planning to launch a podcast. Right now it's called How to Build a Social Life.
Yeah.
And it really, my plan is
That's
to
awesome.
break down the invisible barriers that are getting in the way that makes us feeling more disconnected than ever, and really land this point that it is not just you. Here's what it takes for us to build bonds, and here's why we can't do it organically anymore.
Yeah.
And here are ways that we can make this work in the modern world. The most inspiring way I see this is, yes, our social paradigm is collapsing. The old rules don't work anymore. It feels like everything is falling apart, and we are feeling that tension of like, wow, where do we go from here as humans?
Yeah.
And I believe, it's always darkest before the dawn, and that it is a calling for a new way to socialize. And I think it is a charge for us to be more intentional and authentic and conscious of how we build community. And that's what our podcast is about, like practical, the science behind it, practical tips for how you can find this in your day-to-day life. And also, like, what is the future of socializing? Because we can't give up on each other. Yeah. I think the point that still stays with me is that it's not just that we are disconnected from one another. For the first time in history, we are becoming more antisocial. We are actually withdrawing from one another. Yeah. And so I believe, like, we need to find the way to reimagine what's possible and reconnect with the joy and power of human relationships. Yeah. So, plus give you some fun ways to, like, have better parties. Yeah. And find, like, awesome people in your own community. Yeah. And so that's what our podcast will be about. Yeah. We also, if you go to our website, following our newsletter is the best way to kind of just keep up with how we evolve. You can apply to circles. We do still some corporate work. So if you are a company that's interested in doing this for your people, I'm happy to have that conversation. And we are about to launch a social life calculator where you can kind of plug in your current state, and based on our insights, we can give you a quick little result on how the quality of your social life and where you might want to focus. Yeah.
Well, I think that's really awesome, and people can do so much of that. Even before your podcast launches, they can still search for it and follow it. Yep. And that way you'll get an alert they'll get an alert when you guys start posting,
yes,
right?
It is up right now on Apple and Spotify. You're welcome to follow the trailers up. You can follow us so that you'll know when we are launching.
Awesome. And then the quiz, I took it right before we sat down, actually, the friendship quiz, and it did. I think it says 3 minutes, and that was about correct. So,
cool.
So that if anybody's listening, that is a very short, not a huge barrier, and you're not paying at that point, and you're not committing at that point. Right. You just get the details if you're matched, right? Yeah, so.
And I'm very aware that there's a meta thing happening here where anyone who comes to us is also building a relationship with us. Yeah. And so I want anyone who signs on to what we're doing to feel really comfortable and confident in how we're doing it. And that's partly why the podcast will exist, so you can get to know what we're about. Yeah. But also, if you're just interested and you want to get a feel for us, like, take the quiz, take the questionnaire, and get to know more about circles to see if it's the right fit for you. And it's also, it's okay if it's not the right time. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like that about it, too, that you get the dates and you're like, yes, I can do these dates. Or what was I thinking? This is a bad quarter or a bad season or whatever. And I'm still interested, but not right now, you know? I think that also, I mean, you know this, but that shows that you do know what's going on with people, I think. Which this is already set up. That's part of how it's set up so differently than other things that are going on, I think. So. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about it. And I think this is fascinating, both on just like the personal level and how we build those relationships, and also just setting up this kind of business is pretty interesting too. So, well, thanks, Carrie. I appreciate the work and platform you are giving other local businesses. And thank you. Like you said, it's all about the micro. Yeah. And I appreciate you. And I'm glad I could hopefully offer something to your listeners today. Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Thanks. The Localist podcast is written by me, Carrie Rollwagen, and it's produced here at Infomedia Studios. We help people with podcasts, with social media clips. We can also help with your website or with your website copy or anything else really in your digital footprint. We would love to help with. So if you're interested, head to infomedia.com and fill out that contact form. Let us know what you need, and if we can help you, we'll let you know. And if we can't, we'll let you know that too. I have a whole team here at Infomedia Studios who helps me with the podcast. Hannah Cragen is our outreach manager. Taylor Davis is our producer. And Paul Bryant is in the studio with me. He's our sound engineer. Until next time, here's to thinking global by acting local and putting small shops before big box.